Kugler, you are a graduate of the International Theological Institute, and it's a great joy to be today here in Parliament, in the Federal Parliament of Austria in Vienna. We are, of course, not in the beautiful, currently being restored building of Parliament, but in the temporary housing. And today I have 3 questions for you, and the first question I have for you as an ITI graduate is, what brought you to the ITI? You, looking at your CV, you are now a member of the Federal Parliament, but before you had many other functions. You also studied law, you're married, mother of 4 children, but your career isn't a logical career to end up studying at the ITI. So tell me a little bit how you landed in the ITI.
I kind of fell into ITI, and in the very first generation. ITI was founded, and I was actually on the way to go for a sociology degree.
What year was that?
95.
95.
And I wanted to make a change in the world, in the culture. And I thought for this I needed a degree in sociology, which I was 18 years old. I didn't know any better. And then somebody said, yeah, but you could go to a nice university in America. And I said, this would be a great experience. And then I heard about just newly founded ITI, and they said, maybe these people can help you to find a university in America where you could go for a degree. And so I went to see the people in charge, and they said to me, we're happy to help you, but why don't you try to study here, and we can offer you for 1 semester a scholarship, because we need an Austrian. This is international, there's very nice students, but there's nobody from Austria, and that just doesn't look good. And so they said to me, if you stay here, we can fund you for 1 semester, and we'll see how it continues, because we need to be able to say, here's an Austrian.
So you were the PR person.
I took a weekend to think about this, because it really wasn't my plan to go to Gaming. It's like a very small place in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And then I said, well, what do I lose if I go for 1 semester? Right. And I tried it out. And by the end of that semester, they said to me, we appreciate the way you work with us, and we will help you to get a full scholarship in America, because we want to support you. But if you want, you can stay. And then I said, if you allow, I would like to stay, because this is great.
And so how many students were you in that first year?
This was maybe about 30 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also international?
Completely international. Right. Yeah, it was just me from Austria.
Just you were the only Austrian?
Yes. Right. But then I brought in 2 friends. So this was Pater Johannes Schwarz, came then, and his sister Christina. Yes. Joined, because they had been my friends, and I said, listen, this is amazing, you have to come and study here as well, and they did. And
Father Johannes Schwarz, of course, is a priest now.
Yes, and many others followed. There's a number of Austrians who are very committed now to many good causes, who went to ITI after that. So
you were really a pioneer, you were in the pioneer group.
Brave one.
The brave one.
But it was, when you're 18 years old, you say, okay, so if I do this for a semester, I lose nothing. It's interesting. But the big decision for me was then to turn down the opportunity of a scholarship at some university in the United States in order to stay in Gaming at ITI, because I had seen the quality, and for me it was very clear, this is what I need for my life.
And if you look back at that time, because you went in there not knowing what to expect, somewhere in a little village out back in Austria in the mountains, and something drew you there, and then you decided to stay. What was it that made you decide to stay? Or let's phrase the question in a different way. What is the most important thing you have learned, you have experienced there, that is now having an impact on your life, and that then also, attracted you to stay?
The method of ITI is unique. To read the great sources, the great books in which the great unchanging questions of mankind are actually tackled, answered. That's completely unique. And this was, when you dive into this, it's something that you realize how thirsty you had been before to do it. And for me to go through these incredible sources together with great people and great professors had made a lasting impact on my life. And really, this is what I'm most grateful for. What has given me most through the education at ITI is that when I wake up in the morning, I have a feeling that I stand on firm ground, that I know what I'm talking about, and that I know what ideas can actually achieve, or what ideas can do, where ideas come from and where they lead to, and what the different ones are, and what all of this means when you put them next to each other. This is something that now, I think for everyone in a personal context is relevant, but for me in the political context is indispensable. So that when there's an issue being discussed, that I know where things come from, where they go to, what it means, what the alternatives are. The education at ITI gives me an overview and tells me this is what it is all about. And when I then get up in a difficult context in front of, let's say, all of Parliament or all of my colleagues or all of these people who shape culture and politics in Austria, that I'm not afraid, because I know what's the ground on which I stand, because I know what all of these things mean on the long run. This is for me what ITI gave me, and without which I don't think I could do my work well.
Would it be fair to say that at the ITI you have learned to think, and that this gives you an advantage also in politics, because you are better equipped to tackle the complicated issues and also morally often very problematic issues that you're confronted with in politics?
Absolutely, yes. ITI has taught me to think a lot more than law school has. And I have, after all, a doctorate
we
in law.
We both went to law school, yes, so that's a very interesting thing to hear.
And I mean, wonderful. I enjoyed law school very much. But I learned how to think at ITI, not at law school, not in law school.
And is that because of the reading of the great masters, or is it because of the methodology, or it's probably the combination of the both? It's
probably a combination.
Right.
You know, it goes back in a way. I mean, we had to read also the pre-Christian texts, the great Greek thinkers. It's not easy. Like today, you cannot just pick up a book, a text by Aristotle and read it. You need somebody to walk you through this.
Right.
But once you do it, so many things fall into place. And you know, there's so much happening, but to kind of see the structure behind it allows you to deal with it effectively.
Right.
This is, law school never attempted to help me think like this. Law school just starts with details.
Right.
But to find a place where the details fit in is what ITI prepared me for. And I have to say, I went in law school, I had a book of one of my professors. I had to study for my exam. And for me, it just didn't make any sense the way he arranged the chapters. And I went to him and I said, listen, this is your table of contents, but I think it makes a lot more sense if you restructure this. And chapter 1 and 2 are different from chapter 3 and 4. And the professor said, oh my God, you're right. And this is what I learned at ITI, to find structure behind things, therefore to understand and remember much better the details that are presented to us.
So you were given so to say, a comprehensive structure that helps you to think, to analyze, and to be able to look deeper into the issues and not just stay at.
Absolutely, but maybe it wasn't given to us, but we had to work it out.
Yes, you had to work it out. Absolutely.
So maybe if it had been just given to us, it would have been not so much. It wouldn't have made a lasting impact.
You were challenged to yourself
to figure it out
discover
ourselves.
That structure.
Absolutely, discover it. Yes.
Right.
And I mean, after all, a great time we had doing this for a couple of years together with most amazing people from all different parts of the world. That also opened my mind to other countries and how people think and what's issues. And until today, I obviously have many international contacts, also because of my work. But at ITI, I learned how to talk to them and how to understand them, and also how to approach different people from different cultures in a different way.
Right. And you were just saying, and this I think is very important, and that is that the great masters, reading their texts, they ask questions that are relevant today. Because this is something that is very often forgotten. You know, people will talk about, you know, the Greek philosophers, that's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago, why that's relevant. But what you're saying, and that is indeed the experience of the ITI, is yes, but the questions they ask are relevant today. And in fact, the answers they were trying to formulate are relevant today. Would you agree with that also in your political work?
Yeah, yes. I mean, of course we have day-to-day questions that are very specific or very concrete, but all of these questions have a philosophical background, or even like an iceberg under the water, right? What we talk about is the tip, but you need to see what's under the water in order to give a good answer for the tip.
Right.
And if you do politics in this way, bringing in what it actually means and what the great questions of mankind are, you make politics attractive to everybody.
Exactly.
And many people do not have the formation to do this, because it's also not something that is like, it's not a highly academic debate. It's just about, when you explain the question, to also mention what is the timeless aspect of it.
Right.
And people will find their own questions then in the concrete question that we ask in politics. If you do this, politics becomes interesting and it becomes meaningful.
You're actually touching on a very important point, because there's one term that we hear a lot in politics, and that is value-free policies. All sorts of policies are being presented where they say, no, values are not important, the principles are not important, we're just democratically deciding. But what you're saying is totally right, because every policy we have, everything we do in politics has a philosophical background. We have to make a value decision, and I think there you're touching on something very important, because it shows the importance of also people in politics having the sort of education that you enjoyed. So that brings me to my last question, and that is looking at Catholic students, other Christian students around the world, and those graduating from universities around the world, not only the graduates of the ITI, but of many places of learning. What would be the most important message you would like to give them in this world? What would be, some encouragement you could give them? Because very often we see, unfortunately, amongst Catholics, a sort of resignation, and all the confusion of the world, and all the huge moral questions that are usually not going the way that we as Christians believe are convinced is the right thing. So what word of encouragement could you give them? How can they make a difference in this world?
Well, somebody who today graduates from ITI has quite a responsibility in order to shape culture.
That's what I always say to the students. I always say that to them. Yeah.
And but this responsibility is something good. Like, remember Viktor Frankl saying, if you have a reason to live, you can go through any hardship. Right? Exactly. This is really what ITI equips a student with, a responsibility that really provides for a meaning in life. And somebody makes an investment in the person who graduates, so that it's possible that one went through this education. So this investment also says you have a responsibility, you can do something. And the responsibility, when you take it seriously, makes life quite an adventure. And that's something that I say everybody who graduates from ITI should look forward to this. This is great. Right. And as difficult as it sometimes becomes, you can just say, enjoy the ride. But then how some people might say, well, I mean, responsibility, yes or no, but it's not possible to make a difference. And I think this is totally incorrect. Yeah. We have seen in countless examples how one person can make such a difference. And we have seen, as Margaret Mead herself said, who has changed the world? It was never anyone else than just a handful of people. Yeah. And the question really is, how does the world change? And when we look closely, we will see that the world changes mainly through its institutions, and that we need, therefore, people who support human dignity or who understand the Christian message and its positive effects for the human person to walk through the institutions and to go a step further, to really shape institutions. And this, it has been proven in many examples that this is possible. It depends on the personal commitment somebody is ready to give. Right. And that personal commitment you can really sum up in one word, and that is faithful presence. Right. Faithful presence, because that means that you have your own life in order, of course, and your immediate surrounding for which you are responsible, but that you think further strategically, how can I make an impact for my larger surroundings? And by thinking strategically, you will find your way. This could be founding a school for one, but it could be becoming the leader of a think tank for someone else, or to go into politics, but that we think beyond our own little world. And
we have to leave our comfort zone.
Oh, that we have to do definitely every day. So to take the idea of faithful presence with the knowledge one has acquired through studying at ITI seriously will make you salt of the earth and light of the world, and will make you have an impact that in the end causes better lives for everybody around you. Really, that's what we talk about. We underline freedom, we underline dignity, and what we want to create is a framework in which people can thrive. And this is something that as a graduate of ITI one can contribute to when or if you take your special responsibility seriously, and when you become really an example for faithful presence. This will change the world for the better, and I see it every day.
Absolutely, and there I come to my concluding question, which you just have to answer with yes or no, and that is, would you agree with the statement that every Catholic has the responsibility to go out into the world and, according to their talents, take leadership?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gudrun. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you very much.